But my next guest needs no introduction. He is a friend of this show and former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, who's also going to be coming out here in October for CPAC. Mick, thank you for your time. We've talked a lot about the January 6 hearings, but you were never a fan of Liz Cheney's performance. Is this defeat a payback for all her posturing and grandstanding in those hearings?
A little bit. By the way, James, it's always good to be here. Thanks for having me. It's a little bit of payback, but it's also just sort of the voters of Wyoming having their say. We're in a representative government, and if you stop representing the people that live in your district, they will get rid of you. So, yeah, it's a little bit of comeuppance, but a lot of it was just people didn't like Liz Cheney. I mean, there's like two kinds of people in the world, people that don't like Liz Cheney and people that haven't met her yet. So it's a tough it's a tough way to sort of go out, but it's the right way for an elected official to end a career, which is, here's what I stand for. If you don't like it, vote me out. And that's exactly what happened. So it doesn't surprise me. Liz, and I know Liz. I'd worked with Liz for a couple of years. I was never a fan. I think your point about the attack that Donald Trump represented on her father's brand of neoconservative, of the forever wars, of starting wars overseas, there's certainly an element of truth to that. Keep in mind, Liz Cheney loved Donald Trump when he was spending billions of dollars on national defense. She decided that she didn't like him. Obviously, January 6th is a problem, and I've said January 6th is a problem. But when she saw Donald Trump as her way to sort of run for president, that's when all bets were off.
And I just want you to expand on a point you just made, because it goes along with something I was reading overnight. Somebody made the point about Liz Cheney that this is what happens when a representative stops representing and starts lecturing to their district. Is there a lot of that at play with her own style and the way she was dealing with people in Wyoming?
There is. I think voters recognize when in American English, when people get too big for their britches. I guess the more formal way to address it would be sort of this Messiah complex, which is, I'm smarter than you, I know better than you, I know better than everybody else, I'm here, I'm going to save the nation, I'm the next Abraham Lincoln, I'm the next General Grant. Voters sort of see through that and say, okay, that was great. We liked you when you were sort of a member of Congress who came to the Rotary meetings and came visit schools and stuff like that and represented our district. But when you decide that you want to use the seat that we gave you in order to try and be president or make yourself famous or make yourself rich, people don't like that very much.
Yeah, I think there's another phrase here, too, which is that she was holding tickets on herself. I mean, honestly, comparing herself to Lincoln. But I don't know, Mick. I don't think she knows when to quit. I mean, she's alluding to a 2024 election bid. Surely this is going to gain no momentum, right?
Oh, no, she's absolutely running. I mean, she's absolutely running. And for all of the things I've said, supportive of what the January 6th committee is doing, one thing I've said from the very beginning is the reason Liz Cheney is on that committee and the reason she's using that committee to run for president, she absolutely perceives herself as being presidential material. And the January 6th committee was her way to sort of raise her national image. You just showed a clip from the American television program CBS's 60 Minutes. That's a big deal. Ordinary rank and file members of Congress never get to be on 60 Minutes. I've never been on 60 Minutes, and I was in the White House. That's a way. This January 6th committee has been a way for her to elevate her national sort of representation, her national outlook, so that she can run for president in 2024. My guess is, James, if you want to look at something interesting, see how much money she raised to run for Congress and see how little she actually spent on running for Congress. My guess is she was using all that money to prepare for a 2024 presidential race.
Well, you may not have been on 60 Minutes, but you are on the U.S. Report, which I think is an even better show. But I want to ask you about this here. We talked at the beginning of the show about how so many of the anti-Trump Republicans have all been dispatched in their primaries. Now, does this show that the Republicans are uniting around Trump? And also, will this be a problem for them going into the midterms, i.e., if there's all these pro-Trump candidates, will they connect with mainstream Americans?
Yeah, it's really two different questions. Keep in mind, a lot of those Republicans who are not coming back to Congress are folks who chose not to run. Fred Upton, you showed that list of names. About half of them ran and lost, and half of them chose not to run because they fully expected to lose. At the end of the day, they're all gone and not coming back to Congress. And that is certainly a Trump impact on the Republican primaries. But your other question is also a really good question, is what do the midterms look like? I think the House of Representatives still looks very strong for the Republicans. The Senate is getting to be a problem. We're falling behind in Georgia. We're falling behind in Pennsylvania. We're falling behind in Ohio. These Trump-picked candidates have done really, really well in Republican primaries, but they're not gaining traction in those general elections. And as I used to tell the president, if you win a primary and lose a general, you're still a loser, and he doesn't like to be a loser.
Mick Mulvaney, as always, so much insight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, James. We'll see you soon.